So here we are, we're back to working on our Scout. We have here a 1970 International Scout 800A with an automatic transmission. And we have some issues with the transmission. It's been leaking trans fluid out the bell housing for the past couple of years, and we've also been wrenching on some other things. But I decided to, this will be the year to drop the transmission and see if the maybe output shaft seal is leaking. But right now we got it up on 4 jack stands here and some blocks. Already started to remove some of the bolts on the inside from the trans tunnel. I decided for myself that that it would be easier to remove it from to lower it from the top, I should say, rather than go underneath and try to drop it down. The reason being is I don't have a trans jack that's tall enough, and I don't have one at all, so I don't want to invest in one myself. But thankfully I have a full roll cage here. I have a heavy duty steel bar, which I'm gonna post up there, and then lower it down with the come along to the ground onto a furniture dolly. But basically what we have here is a Borg & Warner 11, they call it, but it's really a T39 automatic transmission, and it's actually a right-hand drive automatic Postal Scout. And I've been searching the internet to see if I can find any replacement transmissions just to have backup, but they are hard to find, let me tell you. But so far we have removed some bolts alongside here on the top just to get to the tunnel and transmission access. So we have about 6 bolts on top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pretty simple. Remove those 6 bolts there. There was just a strap along here, and we removed 6 bolts alongside of this strap as well. So once we remove those, we have our gear shift select lever here. We only had 4 bolts with this. So you just remove these 4 bolts and this cover pops right off, so we can gain some access to the transmission. So here's our transmission. Next step is we're going to go underneath and see what kind of bolts we have to remove and whatnot. I never had this transmission out before, so I'm not really sure what I'm in store for. But I'm going to clean it up nicely, make a good inspection, and hopefully replace that output shaft seal. So next step will be underneath on the bottom. So here we are underneath our Scout, having a look and see what kind of bolts we need to remove. But as you can see in the video, the issue I'm having is trans fluid is literally spewing out the bottom here of the bell housing. So I'm hoping it's that output shaft seal, but just kind of inspecting and see what I need, what kind of bolts there are. Looks like there's 2 along this side here, up on top here, 1 down there, 1 there, and then looks like maybe 1 or 2, probably 2 on this side as well. Yeah, so we got that. And then looking back here towards the back of the Scout, looks like we have our transmission support that we have to take off. Maybe 4 bolts here. It looks like there's a spacer under here to hold it up, so we got to have a look at that as well and kind of see what we got going on. But I'm really hoping that we can remove this easily. Looks like there's also on the front of the bell housing by the engine here, there's a few more bolts up here to remove this inspection cover. So maybe I'll take a look at this, take this inspection cover off first, so we can kind of get a good look at what's going on, or at least kind of see what we're up against. Trying to figure out about this bolt up on the top here. I just happened to notice that. I don't know how we're going to get that out, because it seems like it's the threads or the bolt end is this way, but there's like no room in between the firewall and the transmission itself to get that bolt out. So I'm thinking, I think when they rebuilt the engine, they put the engine and trans in together. But I got to figure out how we're going to get that bolt out. I'm not really sure, but we'll certainly try. I mean, I hate to say it, but worst case, we cut a hole in the firewall, to unthread that bolt out the backside here. I really don't know how much room we have to get it out, but it should be fun. First, I'm going to start by removing the inspection cover plate bolts. I thought these were them, but that was actually the oil pan. So yeah, no, there's about four bolts here. Looks like I have one broken off over here on this side. I'm going to remove those, at least start with that, and kind of work my way back, you know, steps at a time. I never did it before. So we're gonna have to kind of see what we're at and what's gonna work best. We'll just keep going. So here we are at the top, working on those trans bolts. You know, I got 3 of them relatively easy. They're a 3/4 bolt. Here's one of them right here. However, the one like I suspected, way up here in the top corner, you can see it right there. Tried getting, you know, a swivel in there with a 3/4 inch ratchet, or a 3/8 ratchet with a swivel and a 3/4 inch socket on the end. Just can't get the angle. It's funny because the other side has like an access panel with screws, but it didn't need it for that side, and I can't get it off. So unfortunately, you know, I'm going to drill a hole here. I've already drilled a hole, and going to cut myself a little access panel here with the jigsaw, with a metal blade on it. I don't mind that. I'm just going to patch it up. It's okay with me if I have a little hole there. I just need to get access to that bolt. Removed the inspection cover. Well, it's a flywheel inspection cover, but like I said, there was 4 bolts around the perimeter here. 1, 2, 3, 4. One was already snapped off, but you know, this flywheel looks pretty good. Can't really tell much by the transmission right now, but I'm going to try to get on these other bolts here. Like I said, we had a few here and a few over here on this side. Kind of have a look at those, and then have a look at these bolts here on the transmission brace. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so far we removed the bolts that hold the transmission brace here. So there's 8 bolts. Already got the nuts off here. So there's 2, 4, and 6, and then 8. So kind of loosen those up. You know, transmission's still in there pretty good. Just still kind of examining what we need to do next. Probably going to go up on top and brace it a little bit, and then you know, work on those front bolts that I mentioned before that are holding the transmission to the engine, and then kind of see where we're at from that point forward. So here's that little access hole we built to get to the transmission. The last bolt up there, you can see the transmission bolt there. Should be able to run extension, come right out. You know, we'll patch it later, but I felt that was the easiest thing for me to resolve, to get that bolt, last bolt out in there. As you can see, I'm on the bolt now. Makes life much easier to remove that last transmission bolt on top. Okay, so what we have here is our come along, which we're going to use to lower the transmission from the roll bar down to the ground. Then we have our mega thick steel bar. It's got to be like 2 inches thick. Going to run that across the top of the roll bar, and then we just have a strap that we're going to use to secure the transmission when we're lowering it. So here we have our steel bar across the top. I had to use this lock because I couldn't wrap the come along hook around the bar, so we have this kryptonite lock with the come along coming down, with a strap wrapped around the transmission here, and the come along attached to the transmission. So at least we got it secure now. And I'm going to go loosen some more bolts so we have it secured at least. So I got the 4 bolts out that hold the transmission to the engine. The one on top, remember where we cut that hole. One on the bottom, looks like some of the cast aluminum, like it broke or something. I didn't do that, but it was like that. And then you know, we had the 2 on the other side here, one down low and then one up high. Next step, I want to take off the shift linkage. This runs to the shifter up on top, so I'm just going to remove these two here, or this one here, this nut and bolt here, take that apart, and then probably have to drain the transmission some, remove the filler tube here that runs all the way to the top of the engine. We'll see. I might lower it and do it after, but we'll see how it goes. And then looks like, you know, as I said, I got the cross member for the transmission. I got all the bolts loose. Just got to pop them through the other side. Then we have back here a drive shaft. Probably could lower it, the transmission, and you know, see where we're at. Really don't know. Let's just go with it and then see how it goes. Here we are at the drive shaft. I'm going to remove the 4 bolts on the drive shaft. There's one up on top, one down below, and repeat on the other side. So let's remove those 4 from the drive shaft. You know, we're still working to get the transmission free. There's other things maybe connected. Gonna work on this first. So we got the 4 bolts on the drive shaft, 4 U-bolts on the drive shaft off the front. You know, decided, you know, I'm gonna wire it up or rope it up and then take the back off as well, just to make it easier to get the transmission out, because it's pretty well wedged in there right now. So we're gonna take apart the 4 in the back right there and drop the drive shaft out. So I'm working on getting the transmission out, got the drive shaft out. This cross member is really giving me a hard time. I'm thinking I need to undo these 2 bolts at the top here. I don't know why they ran these hoses through this middle of this bracket, but I think I need to do these 2 bolts here on the inside, this way to break it free from up on top up here. But yeah, the cross member is not moving at all, so let me start with removing those 2 bolts there. So here we are again, trying to get the transmission out. I found 2 bolts right here, took those 2 out. I also found then a couple bolts, 1 bolt here and 1 on the other side as well, under here. So I removed those 2, and as I was looking, I was seeing this patch here. So I'm thinking somebody in the past must have cut a hole in the top, maybe to support the transmission up. I'm not really sure, but definitely looks like somebody cut a hole in there in the past. But so now I'm going to try to still wiggle this transmission bracket brace out. So we'll let you know. Finally got the trans bracket off. Man, that was tough. Basically used my come along up on top to raise the front of the transmission, or to raise the transmission, and then you know, there was 50 years of caked on stuff up here, debris and just gunk. But so I raised it up. I just kept ramming the trans bracket back and forth, of the brace back and forth, you know, free up some of the crud there. And then I was able to flip this off, this other little bracket here, flip this out. It's like a little steel bracket. It was able to flip this out. And then I finally got the trans brace out. So we're in good shape now. I'm gonna check a couple more things and see if we can lower the transmission. Okay, so here we are. I didn't realize there was 2 more bolts on top, and they are impossible to get to. So made a couple little axle soles again. It's fine, I'm okay with this. Just gonna patch it up later. But there was 2 on top that are impossible to get to from the engine channel. There's one there, and then there's one here. So I'm getting the last one right now, and then it should come free. I got it secure with my come along right here up to the top. So we should get the transmission out any minute. So we're real close at getting the transmission out. There's these bolts that are attached to the torque converter. to the flex plate flywheel right here. So we got to take our socket and loosen every one of those. I'm not sure how many there are. I'm thinking there's got to be at least 4 to 6. So we have to take a wrench up on the front, like a breaker bar, and I think it's like 13/16 socket up on the front of the crank and spin it. And we got to take apart these. And then after that, the transmission should be able to drop down. Okay, so we removed the 6 flywheel bolts, or that held the torque converter to the flywheel here. So as you can see, we finally have it separated. Finally, there were 6 bolts. Yeah, it was really a pain. I got to figure out how I'm going to get back in there, but when the time comes. So now I'm going to lower the transmission. Okay, I'm about ready to lower the transmission. You know, I was going to use a furniture dolly, but I didn't think I would have enough clearance to slide it out, so I made this little skid thingy with a rope on it here with a piece of plywood. So after we lower it, I can pull it out. So let's see how it goes. We're going to slowly lower it down. Got this little piece here. Oops, it just dropped down, but had to undo that piece. There's like a little gear in here. Gotta keep track of that. It just sets in there, I guess. There you go. So I'm gonna put that, take that out and put that in a bag. Keep it handy. Okay, so finally dragged it out. Had to jack up the one side a little bit more to get the clearance underneath the frame here and in between the wheel well. But sure is heavy, but here we got it out at least. Okay, so I slid the torque converter off just to see, you know, what's going on here, because as we said, we had a leak that was coming down similar to where it's dripping now. Just leaking out the bottom of the torque converter here. So I really don't know. You know, I'm thinking it's this shaft seal here. We'll have to dive into it a little bit and take a look at it and see. Brought my light over to get a better look at it. Like I said, it was dripping down. I mean, it looks pretty wet here. Kind of exactly where it was dripping down from. So I'm thinking it's the shaft seal here.